another Workout Wednesday Power BI edition. This is our first challenge of the year, 2022. So if you haven't joined us before, what we like to do in these solution videos is help you walk through the challenge for the week and provide you some answers on how to complete the challenge, or maybe some context that you missed from not having done some of these before, just so you understand, hey, how do I get to the end solution? So with that being said, let's walk through the challenge for this week. Now we want to start off fairly simple. So what we're doing is we're just checking out the new Sparklines feature that was recently released in the December 2021 release of Power BI Desktop. You can see that I created a sample report here that shows some of the sparklines that we're going to create. And then you can see the requirements in order to complete the challenge at the bottom. So you can click on our link and go get the data that we currently have saved on data.world. So without further ado, let's hop into Power BI and figure out this challenge together. So our first requirement is making sure that we even have Sparklines enabled. So first we click on options, then options and settings, and then again we click on options. And finally we go down to preview features. And these are the preview features that are on for your Power BI desktop. So we want to make sure this Sparklines has the yellow check mark. And since ours is on there, we're going to click OK. If you don't see a Sparklines, it's probably because you're not on the right version of Power BI Desktop. So make sure to check that. So our first challenge is to make a table that includes at least one field. And in my example, I use category and segment, and then create a Sparkline for sales by month of the order date. So what we're going to do is we're going to start by clicking on our table to create us a table visual. And then what I'm going to do is, using our orders table, I'm going to bring in segment, and category is what I use. And then I'm going to turn on my title and just say, this is my number one table Sparklines. Cool. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in my sales as a value. And now to add the Sparkline, what we're going to do is we're going to hit the drop down arrow in the actual field of sales. And now you can see this little option here that was not here before that says add a Sparkline. Clicking that button gets you this little pop-up saying add a Sparkline. You get to choose what you want as your y-axis, and we're going to use sales like we have here. And then our x-axis, what we get to do is we go and get to choose what field we want to represent our x-axis. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here and I'm going to choose the order date field and the month in the date hierarchy, and I'm going to click create. Now you can see that I have some Sparklines showing by month in a separate column. You can also see on the right hand side that there was an extra field created in the values that is now representative of your Sparkline. So you can actually move that around within your table. And so that's our first one. It's very easy. We want to make sure that, hey, how do we use this? How do we add this to our tables and matrices? And so our second one is we want to take this first table that we created and add some formatting. So I'm just going to rename my this table formatted table Sparklines, because now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how do we format these Sparklines. So if you come to your visualizations pane and you click on the format ribbon, you can come down here and now you actually see a drop down for Sparklines. So we want to make sure that we are editing or formatting the proper Sparkline. And in this case, it's our series or sales by month, which there's only one. If there were multiple, you would be able to drop down and click the other one. that you want to format. But now what we're going to do is we're just going to add some basic formatting to the Sparkline. To change the data color, you just click down. I'm going to change it to more of a light gray. I'm going to make the line a little bit more thick, and then I'm going to change the point where there's markers. You can actually have every point have a marker, but I'm just going to have the last point have a marker. And then I'm going to change that data color on that last marker to be more of like a dark blue, and I'm going to make the marker size just slightly, we'll make it slightly larger. You can also change the marker shape if you want, and I guess I can just go ahead and do that for the sake of this example. So now what we want to do is create a table that has columns or bar charts as the sparklines rather than this line chart. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rename this visual formatted table. I'm actually just going to call it Sparkline bars. So now once I head to my Sparkline formatting, we have this chart type dropdown. And in this, we can drop down and we can choose between a line or a column chart. So in this instance, I'm going to choose a column chart. And now you can see that they have switched to my bar charts. Pretty straightforward from the Power BI options here. Not a lot of trickery to this, but a really cool feature to have in here nonetheless. So lastly, what we're going to do is we're going to add a little twist and use these sparklines in a matrix. So we're going to come here, we're going to turn this table into a matrix. I'm going to segment, yep, that's good in terms of my rows and my columns. And then our sales look pretty good. And that is our bar chart, and that is fine. But what we want to do now is we want to create two sparklines. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and say add another sparkline here. And instead of doing it by order date month this time, I'm actually going to do it by ship date month. So now this is going to give us two different types of sparklines. Excuse me. And we are going to, in this instance, turn off our subtotals so that we can fit all this in here. But you can see now that we have our sales by month. This is for order date, sales by month for our ship date. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and I'm going to format them a little bit differently. So we have sales by month, that's fine. This second one is a line chart. What I want to do with the line chart is I want to make it, again, kind of like that gray color. I'm going to make it a little heavier. I'm going to format the last marker in it, and I'm going to make that a little bit dark blue. And now you can see that I have actually created this matrix with two different sparklines in the same matrix. So what we can do now, if we wanted to, is you're able to come in here and add different rows and drill down. So we're actually going to see how that looks with the sparkline. So if I come to category and then subcategory, now we can click into furniture, and now we have the different sparklines for the category and subcategory, which is pretty cool. I'm also just going to do a little bit of formatting here. I think I did the sparse formatting. So now you kind of get this different look. And then finally, something I forgot to do is rename the title. And we'll just say Sparklines and Matrix. So that's it. That is our challenge for this week. Not extremely in the weeds, but hopefully this gives you some sort of starting point to getting more familiar with this really cool feature that Power BI has enabled in both tables and matrices. Thanks so much for participating in this week's Workout Wednesday. We hope to have a lot more awesome challenges for you this year, and we're looking forward to your participation in 2022. Thanks a lot.